Well, it's evolved in such a way that obviously the crime trends are different to what we were used to probably about 5 years ago. There's lots of violent crimes that are taking place. And the industry's changed a lot. If you look at some of the kidnappings and hijackings that we have today, these are all orchestrated because the criminal element finds it an easier way to solicit money out of a family than perhaps commissioning on a cash in transit type job. So we've seen a lot of that coming through the back of COVID as well. Obviously the economy is in some trouble with regards to finances, and this broadens the spectrum for the criminal activity to be far more active in our areas. You know, these guys are hungry, and if we look at some of the thefts of motor vehicles, this has really accelerated over the last couple of years, namely because again, these vehicles are taken and are sold. And if we look at it today, and just in the Beagle Watch footprint per se, we've got no less than one car incidents per day that's being taken. So these guys are experienced guys. They understand the technology in the vehicles and often bypass the tracking unit. So crime has evolved to an extent where it's very much different than it was a couple of years ago. Right, so the criminal element has evolved certainly in the footprint that we look after. We predominantly stretch from the West Rand of Johannesburg right through to the northern suburbs. And different areas have a different security spread. We are a service provider that meets the needs of our clientele, so either additional vehicles. We are today a partner of Vumacam, and the camera technology has really helped us in and around Johannesburg substantially when it comes to tracking and tracing of a vehicle. Funny enough, yesterday we had a vehicle taken at a school event. School events can no longer really just have the pupils, their parents arrive at the school and park a vehicle outside and know that it's safe. That school has to go through the effort of placing guards on a school activity day. And yesterday we had one of the latest Toyotas really broken into. The suspects really tried to take it. And I come fresh from the scene this morning where we've obtained some video footage. How this would really help is we would then try and identify this car through the Vumacam network. And trying to track and trace and at least put a registration number to it, understand where the suspects are what routes they are taking, where they're involved, flag the car, notify our partners that this is the vehicle that's being used, and ultimately supporting the South African Police Services who don't necessarily have these tools to conduct a proper, thorough investigation after a simple, we can say a simple taking of a vehicle. So this is how active we've been in the footprint, and again I have to share with the listeners that the CCTV footprint that we have in place is just so critical to displacing crime in time to come. We have no less than about 1,800 cameras throughout the city. So I do urge individuals who park their vehicles either at a car park, a shopping centre, a mall, and again a school event. You need to just be a little bit more aware than you were in the past. There's parents today that leave their laptops because they've shot from work and they feel they're going to fetch their child and drop them off at home. You cannot have a laptop bag or anything visible from the window of that vehicle because you're just becoming a prime suspect. And I would urge you to lift up your bag and go into the school with your bag. Look where you park. Have you passed a security guard when you're parking at the school? Will you be able to potentially see your car from the school field, or is it tucked away because this is the last parking you could get? And again, I allude to yesterday's event, is that the individuals only pulled off just before the individual got back to his car. We had individuals walking up and down the street whilst the individual was in the car trying to find the tracking unit or get the car started. And one just needs to be totally aware of their surroundings, whether you're in a shopping mall, whether you're going to the shops with your children, whether you're leaving your home, whether it's, I need to dash out and get some milk because we don't have milk, so I'm going to go to the garage. And I think South Africans today do let their guards down. They become complacent. They never think that it's going to happen to him or her. And this is in essence how a suspect preys on you, because he's watching you, he's alert, and he's waiting for you to make a move, totally oblivious to the fact that you are now going to become a victim of crime. The youth of today certainly needs to be on high alert. It starts with the parents doing good sit-downs and education around crime and what to look for. I just visit so many homes and households today and am so close to the community in the respective footprint that we look after, and I'm really blown away when it comes to moving into the home and starting to just understand what family security methods are in place. You know, our children are often left at home with domestic workers after hours whilst we're at work. We've got busy jobs. And when something goes wrong, I think the question needs to be asked of you, did you brief your children? Are they fully aware? If you pulled into a driveway and your youngster was sitting in the back seat, for example, and suspects came up to your window with a firearm, you know, how would your children act and behave? Are they going to start screaming, where this probably is not really what you would want them to do, because the suspect may become a bit jittery? So all of these lectures are needing to take place with your youth and with your children, your staff members at home. We all avoid the topic and we say, well, we're safe and nothing's ever happened to us, but I just urge everybody, and I cannot urge everybody enough, to be proactive. Sit your children down and enter into that difficult topic, which is if something happened at home. And that extends. If one of you get hurt at home, if your husband had to fall off the roof, or somebody had to... Does your children know exactly who to call? If you look at most of the predominant security service providers today, not only are we an armed response business, that's moved on. The most predominant armed response service providers today have access to firefighting services. We have access to medical services to get an ambulance to your home. So again, when you're deciding who to partner with your security service provider, please don't just tick the box when it comes to an armed response service, but am I getting a holistic product that can come to my house in times of need? And what is it typically that a South African needs today in their home to be protected? When I observe and when I do my rounds, I'm also quite shocked to see that sometimes parents would, per se, pop up to a takeaway shop to get some takeaway food, and we leave our children in the car. We all know that hijacking of individuals is rife. There is an increase. There's probably been about 1,000 that have taken place alone in 2025, and I'm urging you not to leave your children in the car, albeit the car is locked. They may open to a stranger whilst you've got your back turned. So at all times, and it's not just pulling up to the takeaway shop, at all times, whether you're going to a mall, whether you're going to a botanical garden, whether you're going for a walk, at all times it is your responsibility to really keep your loved ones close to you. Understand that there's ways of tracking your children today, understanding their access and password on their phones, making sure that if you've supplied your child with a phone, do you have a means one day to track that? Again, we've had incidents where the child's gone missing, and the most appropriate way to try and track that child is through their cell phone. Do you have the passwords? Do you remember that email password that you set up for your child? Because those would typically be the questions that professionals will ask you when we're starting to do the tracking and trace of your loved one that's gone missing. Today I am proud to say that I do form part of the Missing Children's Network that goes around. We are involved with it on social media, and we render our support, whether it's camera technology or just manpower, eyes and ears on the road. And what we're finding today in a lot of the missing cases, I have to share with you, is a lot of background problems, a lot of family issues. It could be a fight, it could be drug related and involved. So one has to really, as a parent, keep your eyes on these activities. Watch the phones, watch what's being said, who are they inviting onto, are they on TikTok, do they have lots of followers? This is the advice that I must give parents, because again, as parents, and I'm a parent myself, sometimes we turn a blind eye and we really don't believe that we need to go deep down into the phone. The social media platform is a dangerous one, extremely dangerous, and if you aren't having these small little checks in place with your children and checking their phones and understanding when they go to bed at night that phone's got to be taken away, because you don't know who is trying to communicate with them firstly and who is ultimately trying to solicit them. For individuals having issues at home with children, which we all do from time to time, I don't think parents need to feel embarrassed because you may be suffering a problem. There's problems in all families. What you really need to do is look for early warning signs of your children's behavior, and really report it or speak to somebody. Seek the help before just leaving it upon yourself. Create a network. Create a network with your friends that you could easily speak to. Create a network with the school. Speak to the school if you feel that your youngster is going through some disturbing times or issues in his life. The last we want is to know that the child was dropped off at the school like we've had, and from there goes missing because they cannot just bear it no longer at home or the environment that they find themselves. So I'm urging parents to look for these early warning signs. Get your child the help that they need. There's many environments that you can lean out to, including the South African Police that have a victim support line, which is not governed and managed by the police. It actually falls outside of the police service, where you can have your child sit with somebody, and that professional individual will soon come back to you and say, there are a couple of warning signs. Again, speak to the people that go through this on a daily basis. We have children going missing, where they've run away, they just can't bear it, and the agony that parents go through before we can try and track and trace and understand when is the child coming back is no good for a parent to go through that absolute trauma. In most of the cases that I've really worked on hands-on, and I'm speaking only from experience, is normally when these children are reunited with their parents, there's just so much trauma. It took a long time for that child to plan that he's going to run away. And when the child gets home and you put your arms around the child, please don't think that the matter is over. It's certainly not. In most cases, we've suggested that the parents require help, and so does the young individual require help, either through the school. The school will no doubt at that stage be aware of this, and they may even require that the parents and the children go and see a professional individual to get this back on path. There's absolutely no immediate repair that you do. The child is in remorse. The child feels that he's let the parents down. They don't know how they're going to accept this. They're speaking to the friends, and the friends have maybe been involved in helping this youngster go away. So the last thing that one needs to just bear in mind is that it's not over as soon as your child is reunited with you. It's really coaching and that help that needs to continuously take place if you're to get this relationship back on track as to where it should be. Some of the cases that I've worked on, there has been an underlying drug problem within the child or the parents per se, and this also adds to aggravation. It adds to making the decision eventually to run away and seek some silence. And not only that, we've also had the cases whereby you actually have been on your phone and there's somebody that's actually lured you into either a dating site or whatever it may be, and all seems good. This interaction can happen for months before you eventually decide to meet with this individual. But when you do meet with the individual, all things change, because this is a lucrative sites where people can go on, and it's actually there to lure the youngsters. And again, I'm alluding to the fact of the social media sites and websites that our youngsters go on today. As a parent, we need to make sure that it's fully controlled, fully protected, so that your youngster and your loved one is not lured into these sites. So as a parent myself, I have a 13-year-old, which again, luckily my wife steps in, and I often pose the question, have we checked his phone? What is he doing? We are very privileged to say that at night the cell phone will be taken away because it's sleep time. A youngster needs a proper full rest before returning to school the next day. And I guess I can take myself lucky that I'm working in such an industry where I see all the bad that's taking place, and it's probably coached me to be a better parent today, because one, I'm extremely protective purely because of what I'm seeing in the field, but it's given me that power to maybe protect my family more than others. Again, I'm just saying that there is just so much complacency out there with the parents, and I'm not necessarily blaming parents for this and that. We live in a highly stressful environment today. Our jobs demand a lot of us, and a lot of the time we're turning our back perhaps on our children, where we could spend that little bit of extra time making sure that they are not going off on the wrong tracks, who they're friends, who they're hanging around with. Are we still dropping our children at the shopping mall because they're meeting up with a couple of children and they're just going to stay there and you'll fetch them later? Are you evaluating the party that they've been invited to? Do you know the parents? Have you interviewed them before actually sending your child to the party? So there are just some basic fundamentals that you could, as a parent, ask yourself, am I doing the right thing? If you're not doing these types of things, this is invariably when the child feels that he's got loose ground, and invariably you'll be faced with trouble. That discipline needs to be on our youth. Not in the days when we were youngsters. Luckily, I never had a cell phone when I was a youngster. My parents didn't need to worry about what sites I would go onto. But today's day and age is something absolutely, totally different. And I have to share with you that it's evolving every single day. So in a latest event that took place less than a year ago, I raced to an armed robbery that had taken place within our footprint, within the Northcliffe and Fairlands and Bororio footprint. And the parents had actually left the house and left one of their teenagers at home, which, again, I'm not saying that you can never leave your children at home, but in this specific case, I think the suspects were watching the individuals leave the home to just go and quickly drop somebody off at an event. And lo and behold, the property was under an armed robbery. The armed robberies that we're seeing today within our footprint are those of malicious opening of your front gate, jumping on your front door until it gives way. And in this specific case, there was a child that was left at home to defend for himself, which he did a great job. Pushed the panic button, knew exactly how the house laid out because the parents had educated the family. But you've got to understand that the trauma, the absolute trauma that goes with that child for time to come until he gets over it. And sometimes maybe they will never ever get over it and just have that total awareness through life. I had my armed robbery in 2009, which was a number of years ago, and today it's afforded me the opportunity to never let my guard down. Whether I'm pulling into my driveway and there is a car that's following me, I'll drive around the block. I'll have that discipline in my mind. And whether I'm opening the gate, making sure that I'm not on my cell phone. And when I've pulled into my driveway, my first most important task is to make sure that I close that gate and I observe in my mirror, has anybody slipped in? And these again are the methods that you can start teaching your children, because it doesn't matter what security you have at your home today. If you allow somebody, which is a staff member that's uneducated, to let somebody in the home today when you are at work, it's a problem. No South African today should be letting anybody into their home unless they've reached the homeowner at work to say, I have such an individual that is outside, have you planned any work? Otherwise, you keep that gate closed and you send the people away. So our armed robbery in 2009, again, I have to share with you that crime trends were probably different in 2009. It's a long time ago. How would I act differently today? It's all about your main gate. In this specific case, one of our family members had slipped up to the Spar to get a loaf of bread. And when they got home, they opened the gate and left the gate open for longer than it should. And I happened to be in the garage, and before you knew it, because the gate was open, these guys don't need to break any electric fence or anything. They came straight walking through the front gate. So that was really how our incident took place. And at that stage, I wasn't trained, the family wasn't trained, and my children weren't trained exactly what to do. But we just listened, observed. And I think my message to all the listeners and to anybody that lives in South Africa, in our crime-riddled country at the moment, is to make sure that when something like this is happening, that you just play along, for the simple reason that any valuable property that they take off your property, either you take your ring or your laptop or take your car, can always be replaced, but your life can't. And therefore, I'm urging individuals not to become aggressive, think that you can fight this guy off, get stabbed. Life is short, And you need to make sure that you just do the right thing when something like that's happened, because you want to see the daylight tomorrow, and that TV that's just been taken could probably be replaced tomorrow. I believe the sudden mistakes that some individuals sometimes make when this is happening is they feel that they could fight the individual off. They scream, they shout, they do something that's probably going to aggravate the situation. Whereas if there was a calm, collective push my silent panic button, or I can see that the domestic worker's looking through the window and she's going to push the button because I've trained her to. So again, some of the things are to really try and fight the individual back. In a lot of the cases, these individuals are armed with firearms today, and again, for him to pull the trigger of that firearm is nothing in terms of protecting his life and making sure that he's going to get out of the crime scene safe. He's not worried about your life. He needs to make sure that from today onwards he's going to be okay and he's going to escape this matter. If we look at a lot of we are proud as a business to look after a lot of the predominant schools in the northern suburbs. A lot of them today do have taxi arrangements with transport because a lot of the individuals come from far away. Again, as a parent, if I was sending my child onto a public transport, I need to make sure that I do all my relevant checks. You don't know the vehicle that's going to pick them up. Has the driver been out last night? Is the driver coherent? Is the driver South African? Has the driver got a driver's license? Does the driver have any advanced driving because he's transporting children? What about the condition of the vehicle that he's using to load your child in? Is the vehicle on the road? What is the condition of the tires? And I'm not saying you check this every time, but before engaging in a company that's been advertised online that they can do pickups to and from school, you have to do your homework. If it's a negligent and reckless driver, have you considered the consequences when your child is in that vehicle with 12 other children per se? So again, as a parent, it would probably remain your responsibility to understand, are you in the hands of a proper business that's going to transport my children to school? As a parent, check the credentials of this transport business that you want to make use of. Make sure that you interview them. Make sure that you maybe go into their background and say, has accidents happened before? And I think most importantly, is there public liability and third-party insurance on this matter, because you never know what types of accidents could take place in a situation where your child is being transported to school by means of a public transport. In the event, and we've seen in our suburbs today, we've got a problem. We've got a couple of hotspots where individuals are just arriving at your window with a firearm, either for the car or again for your watch or your laptop, or they've targeted you for something. My advice to individuals is, and I think it goes back to the old days, make sure your hands are clear. Don't start reaching for your safety belt or your cell phone or anything. These sudden movements to an individual makes them perturbed, make them concerned. You could be reaching for a firearm. If I was personally in a vehicle and somebody came up to my driver's window with a firearm, I'd place my hands above my head and play along with the individual. I would do everything that I need to do to make sure that the individual gets what he wants and leaves. But again, the message is clear. Make sure your hands are visible to the suspect and that you have no intentions at that stage, at that immediate second, to fight back and try to protect yourself. We've seen cars that are they push the accelerator and go into the car in front of them. This has just created mayhem for the individual now that's trying to conduct his job. So again, for me, it's you need to raise your hands, make your hands clear, and just play along until the individual either asks you to open the window or to speak. Only if you had a clear view where you could accelerate and go away, that's the call that one would need to make right away. The risks of that could be that the individual pulls a couple of shots off at your vehicle. You don't know in that time. But again, it's all about playing along and protecting your life. You want to live to see another day. In most cases, criminals do not enjoy you looking into their eyes at whatsoever. And if you are ever going through either a home invasion or somebody's pulled to your vehicle, it's a form of respect for you to actually look down and not look into the eyes of the individual. yeah, it's just something that you would try and avoid. And in most cases, the individual says, look away. In our armed robbery, 9 times out of 10, they are grabbing a blanket or a shirt or a jersey to put over your head. And again, that's purely that you will never identify the individual who's come to do this deed. There's a lot of youngsters that are involved that have just really ended school, and they're in that time where they're trying to find a job, trying to settle down. And a lot of youngsters do get involved either through your CPF structures, which is your community policing forums. We have a lot of youngsters that approach us and say, could we start in your call centre? And I'm urging youngsters to make sure that you're involved. We have a reach out program to some of our predominant schools whereby we try and create a path after matric for the youngsters, whether they're coming into our call centre where they get fully trained. It does act as a stepping stone, and straight away you're entering the world from a business perspective, and we're trying to educate you and give you all the hints and tips that one needs to do in entering business. Some choose to stay, some choose to go, but ultimately that experience is great. So to answer the question about are there a lot of youth and youngsters getting involved, absolutely, I do see this in the social environments that we're in.
Okay, final question. One piece of advice you wish that Gen Zs knew regarding crime? Protecting themselves.
Yeah, I think the best advice that I could probably give individuals today is you could do a tick box exercise. You could come to us for advice. I have a team of professionals who would gladly sit with you and go through a lot of how you would protect yourself today. We've all seen in the past that, for example, women and men could go to an anti-hijack course and sit down and listen to a lecturer and tick your box. And I'm saying that if you are with a predominant security service provider, you should be able to reach out at any given time to them and ask any forms of advice, where an individual could come to your home and even do a family talk with you and your children, because there's lots to cover. There's lots to, if I grabbed your child's phone now, for example, and you were part of an armed response business, am I likely to see that the security company, for example, Beagle watches numbers programmed there? Or will I reach a situation where the child didn't have the security service provider's number on their phone? Mom and dad's been in an incident and I wouldn't know who to phone. So there's lots of advice that I could give individuals. But again, I think it's for you to reach out to your security service provider who protects you at home and see exactly what they have on offer. I've done in the past a lot of security talks and a lot of security lecturing, and when I normally finish those sessions, there's just so much praise about I didn't really realize I could do this, and I really didn't realize I could do that. So again, sitting yourself down with your family and having a family plan in place where you talk about, if this happened to me.